So, Josh Allen was also interviewed by Peter King this past week. He must have got a little confused. Peter King must have got a little confused when it came to talking to Josh Allen. He might star in the quarterback series, but he comes out and reports that Joe Burrow is going to star in this quarterback series. After Joe Burrow, week before, says, "Hey, I'm not going to be in this quarterback series this year." So, what happened, Justin?
Yeah, I respect Peter King. I respect his work. And I just saw so many different quotes and memes and social media, Twitter pages that just took that and ran with it. Oh, Joe Burrow is going to be on season 2 of quarterback, and all I can do is just laugh at it because he just told you a week ago in a press conference that he's not interested in doing that right now. He is doing it further down the road. Now, people can change their minds, especially when money talks.
It
But
does.
at the end of the day, Joe Burrow is a pretty well put together fella, and if he says he's not doing it right now, and he gave really good reasons why, I'm going to believe him. So the fans just took it and they were just excited, and other networks and platforms just took it and they just ran with it. And then also I heard that it was ended up being a misprint, and he ended up deleting that part out of the excerpt. So yeah, Peter King, he kind of messed up there, but we all make mistakes.
We all do. Adam Schefter made a couple mistakes back in the past and everything. So, I mean, hey, Peter King, man, you get your one slip up, everything's good. But,
Yeah.
man, welcome to the Cut to the Chase Bengals Blitz. You know, we talk a lot about the Bengals on the Fans First Sports Network. We're on the Runnin Thru The Jungle podcast network. I'm your host, Chase Yance. I got, a good friend of mine in the studio today, Justin Lacey. What's going on, Justin?
Oh man, I'm doing great, man. Happy to be here. Happy to cut to the chase with you. Let's get to it, man. Football talking.
I know, man. I mean, we are literally like less than 24 hours away from the first game. I know it's a preseason game and everything, but hey, it's still a National Football League. It's still pads are popping. Our rival, who we play week 1, is literally going to be in this game against the Jets. So, I mean, it should be pretty exciting to get back and talking about football. We'll talk about some of that stuff later, but we were mentioning Joe Burrow talking about money grab, money talks, and everything when it comes to these, the Netflix series with quarterback. He's got another thing to worry about in his own contract of how much is he going to sign for, all this stuff. But Burrow did suffer an injury last week in training camp. It was a strained calf. Zach Taylor said he's going to be out for several weeks. Zach Taylor has done he's a mysterious kind of guy when it comes to, setting timetables for players' injuries. Like, he's really optimistic, but several weeks. I mean, it's more than a couple, it's more than a few. But what do you think about this Burrow injury? Going forward as the Bengals kind of keep things under wraps.
Yeah, Zach Taylor, and this is kind of like the Bengals MO as a totality as a whole. You tend to get this from Duke Tobin. You tend to get it from Mike Brown whenever he does come and speak at their mock turtle soup. Elizabeth Blackburn, Katie Blackburn, everybody from the top down sort of operates like this, and including Joe Burrow himself. They don't really give you a lot of details, and it was tough because everybody want to know what's going on with Joe Burrow. He's the marquee player. He's what makes the glue to this. He's the one that makes the team go. Let's just call it what it is. Without no Joe, there's no show. And I like that little rhyme that I just put together.
I like that too.
but it was tough because people was trying to force the time frame status, and he's not a medical doctor. He's a head coach, and he wants to get the specifics of what's going on before letting the media know. He did let them know, whether if it's several weeks. And I just love that, man. If you get on Bengals Twitter, everybody's Googling the definition of several. Could that mean 2 to 3 or 4? And it's like, look, I'm just like, look, take it down a notch, fans. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And even the opposition fans too that wants to see the Bengals fail.
Pops.
Yeah, want to try to bank on worst case scenario.
Yeah.
That look, Joe Burrow is going to be fine. In fact, the Bengals fan page, the Bengals Twitter page or social media team, they literally sent you a post out and said Joe will be back. And honestly, that's all I needed to do.
Yep.
Let me ask you this question: TJ Hushmanzada, you already know that's my all-time favorite Bengal.
Oh yeah, we remember that.
he actually appeared on the show Speak on Fox Sports,
He did.
and
He did. He did.
they had a segment regarding Joe Burrow about like with the update his injury, and he had an actual live update, and I loved it because he said I just shot him a text, and he said I asked him, "Yo, you good?" And he said, "Yeah, good, bro. I'm good." And I love it because this is why T.J. Houshmandzadeh is my favorite Bengal of all time. Like again, not saying the most talented Bengal, even though he was hella talented, but because he's so real, man. He don't care
Mm-hmm.
about fluffing the media up to
Yep.
bring all this kind of essence to their stories and fit their general narrative. He's all about the Bengals, man, and he shows it proudly on those shows. And and his I think he has a podcast airing it out, and he is absolutely supportive of us too. And he's also realistic. It's like, hey, yo, if the Bengals ain't doing good, the Bengals ain't doing good. Just like I would
Mm-hmm.
expect anybody else, but he also gives us very high praise, and he stands for the organization, and he gonna make sure people know that. So when he said that, gave that live Burrow updated news right then and there, I loved it. I
Oh
loved
yeah.
it.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, like you said, talking about our ops and stuff like that, they probably hated hearing that. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's
Mm,
probably like they're like, oh, there's no
mm.
way that you texted Joe Burrow on the set of Speak this afternoon. There's no possible chance that even happened. Like, you probably just texted some random number and stuff like that. Nah,
Yeah.
TJ legit though. TJ legit. Like, that's the thing. Like, most of the Bengals players, like current Bengals players, some of the past ones. I mean, for some of those guys that went through a lot of, there was a lot of not problems, but just a lot of controversy and stuff back then. Like, I'm not saying that TJ or anybody went through that controversy, but like it was a weird time to be a Cincinnati Bengal when it came to winning some games, but not winning
Mm-hmm.
any playoff games, stuff like that. The one concept that has kind of stayed true when it comes to the Bengals players presently and those Bengals players of the past in the 2000s, they real, man. Like, they are straight up when it comes with what
Absolutely.
they were. Like, like obviously we talked about, like a lot of, from the top down, talking about an organization, like, they don't really say they kind of hide a little bit, not hide a little bit. They don't really release more information than what needs to be released, but they're
Right.
straight up with it though. They're still straight up with it. Like, it's,
Yeah.
and the players as well. Like said, Joe is quick with it. He in the press conferences, man, he gives the shortest answer possible, but he wraps it up in a summary. And then, like Mixon and T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, the defense, Mike Hilton, DJ, like all of them are, they're all straight up. Like, that's the thing. Like, there's a lot of teams that kind of just, they kind of like own up to the media, fest the media and stuff like that, and they just kind of butter themselves up. And that's one thing. Like, the Bengals, we're kind of the black sheep of the National Football League, but we're finally
Right.
good at it. So,
Right. Right.
and that's a big thing.
This is the perfect the way how I describe this current Bengals team when it comes to the media relations is that they are absolutely socially aware of how the Bengals are viewed in the national public eye.
Oh yeah.
And I think that they always talk about that amongst each other to the point where it's like they kind of band together because of it. And then as you just mentioned about our past and our former players, they don't mind getting real about the stuff that happened, but they also know how to celebrate what's going on currently. We just had this discussion about Corey Dillon not that long ago. We all thought that Corey was being selfish initially at first until you actually hear him talk and hear him speak, and then no, he wasn't back down from any of the words that he said, but it didn't change the fact that he still roots hard for the Bengals. He was very, very positive regarding Joe Burrow, Joe Mixon, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, the core guys that is a part of this team, and then just still pushing for them and root for them. He just wanted to be recognized, and that's a lot of people in that past, previous dark ages of the era in Bengaldom. And TJ, while he did spend some success here, you're right. He did have some downfalls and whatnot with the team
Yeah.
overall, but I still always appreciate his realness, man.
Yeah.
And like I said, man, when he broke that little bit of that live news, even though it wasn't really breaking news, it was just basically just kind of helping, let's just temper the waters a little bit. I know us people in the national media landscape want to have a tendency to have this public appetite for this rise and fall narratives that you want to overanalyze everything when it's not that simple. So I'm really proud of how this Bengals organization has been handling so far when it comes to all of the masses, because they are going to be one of the more scrutinized organizations moving forward because Joe Burrow is their quarterback.
Most definitely. They've done a really good job of that entire thing. And like I said, with Joe Burrow, like in the way of Joe Burrow hasn't had a normal offseason ever in his
Nah,
career. Like obviously came in
unfortunately
COVID.
not.
Yep, COVID 2020. I mean, we literally walked into training camp, and that was like the first practice the Bengals had.
That's so wild, bro. Right?
It's insane. It's insane. Like the fact I still think about the fact that he walked out against the Chargers week one, threw for like 190 yards. I know it's not a whole lot, but I mean he still literally led what should have been a game-winning drive week one.
Game-winning touchdown drive,
Oh
bro.
my gosh, dude! But that's just it's a different story for a different time. But it's just like, but like
Yeah.
still, it's like like he 2020 he had the COVID year and everything. 2021 he came off the entire reconstruction of the knee, his rehab, and all that stuff. 2022 he had the appendectomy, and then this year he has the calf. A lot of fans haven't really been able to see Joe Burrow in practice that much over these past 4 seasons. It's he's really been hitting well when it comes to practice. Like last year, meaning like he missed a few weeks. He was on the cart. He was driving that cart around and stuff like that, which was cool. But I mean, a lot of people didn't get to see Joey throw some dimes in practice and stuff like that. But I mean, we'll see how that whole thing plays out. But if I had to guess, I mean, the Bengals' first preseason game is next Friday against the Packers, and then I believe it's the following week they play the Falcons, and then after that they play the Commanders. I'd expect, obviously, I'm not inside the organization, we both aren't, but like I'd expect to see Joe start practicing after that third. I think he's going to practice during like that third week and stuff like that, but they'll keep it.
Yeah, I do too.
Because that's going to be the media coverage is it's going to be there, but obviously there's not going to be any fans at that point watching those practices and stuff like that. So I feel like the media is going to kind of keep that under wraps, but I think Joe's going to probably start practicing within those couple weeks from now and stuff. I could definitely see that coming, and he'll ease his way back in, hopefully to be the starter for week one. So camp, all right. So camp started last week. I believe it started last Tuesday. They had a day before. They had fans come out and it was public. And then obviously the first public practice was on Wednesday. I went to practice Monday, July 31st. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but we're going to take a quick break here so we can get some ads in and make some money. All right, we're back. So I was at practice Monday, July 31st. Justin, have you made the practice yet at all, or your schedule been pretty busy?
So I actually got a chance to go down to the family day, and when the tickets came available, I rushed and got them.
Oh yeah.
Then the Burrow injury happened, and then it was like, oh man, it's probably pointless to go now. But I did go. I wanted to check out the team. I didn't really care to be like all the other fans and then just take 1,000 pictures. I already knew it was going to be for the kids, so it's literally family day for a reason for the children. But I got a chance to watch them, practice, watch them scrimmage against each other, and yeah, so far I gotta say, man, even without Burrow being there, it's cool to see that the iron is truly sharpening the iron, and it was just nice to sit back, grab a bust open a cold one, and then just kind of sip and just. It was really hot.
Yeah.
They ain't lying when they call it the dog days of camp. It is extremely hot.
Oh man, you got that right, man. I mean, when that heat index is reaching 100 and stuff like that, and they out there and they pads and everything. I know they weren't out in pads that day, but I mean, still, it really is the dog days of camp in the National Football League. What did you see though on Saturday? I actually want to point to one guy real quick. What was your look for with our our backup quarterback battle with Jake Browning, the guy from Washington?
So I was actually looking for from the quarterback standpoint, I needed to see, are they able to be as precise and as accurate with the ball like Joe Burrow would be, even in the simulated practice format. Now, no one is going to be truly Joe Burrow on this team or even throughout the league. That's why Joe Burrow is special. You can talk about all the things that he does. Is the intangibles, quarterback tangibles, can be easily replicated if you just teach the quarterback coming up to be more like Joe instead of trying to be more like Mahomes and Allen and stuff. No, it's not easy to be like Joe Burrow. If that was the case, then you would have seen a lot more Joe Burrows coming through the NFL, and it's not the case. So, but Jake Browning and Trevor Siemian didn't really do a bad job at all. I believe it was, I can't remember if it was Jake Browning that threw the pick six to DJ Turner, but ultimately, man, while they made some good throws, they made some good passes. And I have nothing really to complain about it. I feel like they've been pretty good. It's just, man, the defense, the secondary, there's moments where they get cooked, but there's also moments where they're standing up and showing up and they're reading the eyes of the quarterback, just like how I would thought that they would do. And that probably would have happened even if they were going against a true starting caliber quarterback in the NFL, like whatever. Like it doesn't have to be a backup. So that's what's standing out to me is I do love what I'm seeing from this secondary. They're going through their growing pains. But at the end of the day, the offense is still showing that, wait, we've been together longer and we're going to show that we're going to dominate. And man, I can't tell you how many phenomenal catches that I keep seeing T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd T. Higgins and Chase making down the sidelines. It's just beautiful, man. It was beautiful to watch. I had a good Saturday, even though it got too hot and I had to call it early. But it was nice to watch that.
Truly was, man. I mean, nothing like it when you have 30,000 people in the stadium for practice the last Saturday of July, man. I mean, there's truly nothing like it. I mean, so you went to that practice. I went to the next practice, public practice on Monday. So what I saw a lot of was, I actually, when they were doing a lot of the 11 on 11 stuff, I was paying attention to a lot of the formations. All right. So they actually, it was a lot of obviously like 3x1 sets, 3 receivers, 1 tight end and stuff like that. But one thing that I noticed a lot of, and something that I really liked, so there were some times when the Bengals were running some trips formations when it was, you had the trio on the same side. You had T, Jamar, and Tyler Boyd on the same side. And when you think about it from a schematical standpoint, you have teams that'll, double Jamar and they'll double T, and then that leaves Tyler Boyd in the one-on-one. And Tyler Boyd is going to cook you in the slot when that happens. He's going to take advantage of his opportunities and stuff. And then whoever the tight end is going to have, a pretty free and open day. So Irv Smith in that case. But, when you're looking at having those receivers on the opposite sides like T and Jamar, you can double and then you can play one-on-one. Double on the other side, play one-on-one. So, obviously opens a light box. But when you're looking at putting T and Jamar lined up on the same side and also Tyler Boyd as well, obviously you're not going to have one of those ultra talents singled up, on the opposite side of the field. You have all of it on one side of the field. And it's like, okay, are we going to double one guy and then we're going to single the other ones? We're going to really run single coverage on T. Higgins in the slot. Are we going to run single coverage on Jamar Chase in the slot? Are we going to double both of them and look like an absolute mess on defense on the back end? And we're going to single coverage, Tyler Boyd in the slot? Like moving these guys around and making the defense really think about what's going on. I mean, that's going to be critical. And, you can see the Bengals last year, they kind of got, at the start of the season, they were kind of a little bit vanilla when it came to, moving guys like T and Jamar around in the scheme and stuff like that. You saw Jamar Chase get more in the slot as the year went on, and it really messed up some people. And, moving, just flipping and flopping guys all over the place, splitting, mixing out wide. If the Bengals have a good enough offensive line, you're going to see the Bengals run a lot more 5 wide this year, which is what Joe Burrow prefers and which is what Joe Burrow threw 60 touchdowns and 6 interceptions in college in 2019. Obviously, I don't think you can do that in the NFL, but, I mean, hey, if you're throwing 40 touchdowns, I mean, I bet we'll take that any day of the week. But it's just like that's the one thing that I really noticed was some of the formations that they were running. I know Joe wasn't back there throwing the football, but I still think Jake Brown did a pretty good job of getting the ball to the receivers and stuff like that. Obviously, those receivers will make most quarterbacks look well if the ball is just thrown in the vicinity. They're going to make the catch. But I also will say, you're looking at the secondary. So you saw a lot of DJ Turner Saturday. I actually saw a little bit more of Sidney Jones on Monday, which was a little interesting. They were kind of flipping and flopping right there. But what were some of your thoughts on DJ Turner and his play, as camp keeps progressing?
So going back real quick to when you said that you were watching them working on the formations on the bunch lefts or the bunch rights, and I like that they're doing that. I like that was one of the critical opponents because remember, beginning of last year, They started out slow because teams were playing them two cover two. And
Yeah.
for those that don't understand what cover two is that for the most part, basically, is you got two safeties that are high and that they're pretty much covering the shell with two outside corners. And the goal is to take away the deep shots and the outside shots. And the best way to overcome that is number one, be able to run the ball effectively,
Yeah.
or number two, you got to be very good at moving pieces around and hitting certain hole shots to be able to overcome it. I think that what they're doing is staying a step ahead on the side on that side of the ball to make sure that no matter what the defense sees, they can still be able to make plays, even though there are going to be times where defense will win those reps. So I definitely like that you observed that part because that had me thinking this is how they start off slow, that they can't just go out five wide all the time, even though that is Burrow's bread and butter. But to answer your question about DJ Turner, he has been absolutely phenomenal. It's like his speed is just as advertised when running step for step with the quarterbacks. He never gives up on a play. He is always hustling to the ball. There's probably going to be times in camp I didn't really see too much of the footage. Obviously, there's going to be times where he's going to get beat. That's just going to happen. But you can tell that as he grow into his position, I just feel like that he is going to be the one that takes over the outside corner along with CTB in the eventual time frame if we do not re-sign Cheeto, if he becomes a free agency and chooses not re-sign or takes a lesser deal, and that stuff. And I know that's a separate conversation down the road, but I just really like what I'm seeing from him. And he's covering the other rookie receivers pretty well when he's lined up against them. He's giving the Migos the fits regarding it. Jamar is still making crazy acrobatic catches, and I believe one of the catches that Jamar had that was like a back shoulder where he stopped and came back from the ball. I believe that was on DJ Turner. I could be wrong.
Great coverage though. Great coverage. I mean, there's
Great
not
coverage.
much better.
Exactly.
Not much better you could do on one of the top 5 receivers in the National Football League. I mean, it's tough.
Exactly, man. And we've actually talked about this too. With Jamar Chase is clearly a top 5. Probably most of us have him at number 3, depending on give or take how you move the list around, I should say. But yeah, DJ Turner had really pristine coverage on that route. It was just Jamar was just that damn good. And I believe that as he progresses and as he continues to grow and get those reps against guys like Chase, he will grow into his own, and that nobody, and I mean nobody, no receiver is going to fear him. I just don't believe that. And not even Justin Jefferson, who he'll face probably down the road in Minnesota. I'm not sure if we're in Minnesota or if that game is at home. I couldn't remember.
Oh, actually,
But yeah, that's what I take. That's my takeaway from DJ Turner. I like where his progressive nature going. I mean, there's another DJ that's been doing pretty good too lately, DJ Ivy. I mean, he's starting to kind of turn into a 7th round steal a little bit, like one of them 7th round picks that, hey, he can get some reps. He could be somebody that could beat out Sidney Jones. It could happen because Sidney Jones has been getting beat a lot too. But I think the defense and the secondary as a whole is just going through it because they're going through growing pains, trying to stop without what we believe is one of the most lethal offenses in the NFL.
Exactly. And also, I love the DJ Ivy point that he says 7th round pick out of Miami. You know who, he's a dark horse to replace when it comes in the secondary that we don't really think about a whole lot. Trey Flowers.
Yeah.
Big corner, he's able to guard some tight ends. Obviously, I know DJ might have put on a little weight to do that, but but if he's able to, on 3rd down, is able to, come in there and be that bigger role like Trey Flowers was last year and cover some tight ends out of the backfield to more versatile, bigger receivers and, just have a chance to pop, that's huge. And he's been absolutely balling this camp. He's, tons of passes defended, interceptions left and right. He's been doing his thing, and I'm excited to see what he does in the preseason games, man. Because that's where he can maybe go up to the second team and really get a shot at competing for some playing time throughout this season.
Yeah, this is going to be a perfect time. Preseason is usually when I get the best evaluation. It sucks because I can't really make all these practices because the practice doesn't really align with my work schedule so much that I always tend to miss it or just rely on footage that fans or the media pulls. But preseason, I'm always in tune because I need to see how these depth pieces work. And I think DJ Ivy is going to be one of those pieces with his upcoming Green Bay matchup that I need to pay attention to. because I'm going to assume that Green Bay is going to run Jordan Love out there to start the preseason and give him the first few reps. And I think DJ Ivy and obviously DJ Turner too, since we're talking about him more, is going to be the ones to shoulder the carry of the snaps just to get, because they're rookies, number one.
Yeah.
And number two, to see how do they fare going against their ones. Even though the Packers, the people are projecting them to not be a great team this upcoming season, hey, you never know. It's still Green Bay, and Jordan Love can still surprise somebody.
Yeah.
We thought the same thing with Aaron Rodgers a little bit when he took his first starting snaps. And I remember he played his first preseason game against the Bengals, if I'm not mistaken, back in 2008. And it was crazy deja vu, because here we are in the same situation now. That year we finished terrible. I don't think that's going to happen for the Bengals. But at the end of the day, I am going to be paying attention to the secondary overall of how it all comes together. And you're not going to be able to get it all from like the 3 preseason games that we're watching. It's going to bleed into the regular season, because that's where the real test falls.
Exactly. And then you know, like you said, the secondary. I mean, this is, you know, we've been talking about this for the last 5 minutes or so, but I mean, there's so much to talk about when it comes to that. You already look at it like when you're, you know, with our quarterback, when he gets back and healthy, everything's cool. Our receivers, they stay, you know, our receiver group is you know, has the most depth in the one of the most depth in the National Football League. It really does. Like, you know, it's not often you got, you know, that, you know, 3-headed monster, and then right below you got 3 other guys who are really, really productive and projected to be really productive in Chuck Sills, Charlie Jones. So I mean, you know, that's another thing right there. But you know, when looking at the secondary, obviously you got Dax Hill, and then you got Nick Scott back there coming over from the Rams. You know, they've done, you know, pretty decent job. Obviously, you know, you're going to have some slip ups here and there when you're, you know, trying to, you know, communicate with new guys and play with those guys on the outside at corner like CTB and Mike Hilton in the slot. And, you know, Cheeto hasn't really had a whole lot of practice when it comes to, you know, playing in these 11-on-11s and 7-on-7s. But one guy that I actually was fortunate to have a conversation with for about 5 minutes on Monday, me and my friend Brady, who's co-host on this show, we actually talked to Jordan Battle for about 5 minutes during practice.
Nice.
It wasn't a lot of about play on the field. It was a lot of college recruiting and stuff. I will say this: he did say that if Urban Meyer didn't leave Ohio State, he would have been a Buckeye. I do want to put that out there. That is what Jordan Battle said. But obviously, won championship at Bama, all that stuff. But he's one guy to watch out for, because obviously in minicamp, there were articles released by, you know, the head Bengals writer, Jeff Butch Hobson, who was talking about how, you know, Jordan Battle has really absorbed everything quickly. He is a very intelligent safety in the back end. He was a 4-year player at Alabama, smart individual. It's really coming quick for him. And if there's a potential to see, you know, if we do, you know, some 3 safety looks, or if someone does get hurt and Jordan Battle comes in, I think we're pretty confident that, you know, he could pop right away and do some damage for us.
How was your, like, when you met Jordan Battle, how was his presence towards you? Like, obviously people can give off a sort of vibe, you know, to kind of let them know that, hey, he's walking with that confidence. Do you see that when you had a chance to talk to him?
Easily. Like, we talk, you know, obviously there's 40 kids shoving footballs in his face. I want your autograph.
Right.
It's for the kids. It is.
Yeah.
But we're right there talking to him, and he's just, you know, having a great time with the fans. You know, he's confidently talking and stuff like that. You know, he's real down-to-earth guy. So, I mean, you know, he, as an overall person, he's seen, you know, from, you know, just, you know, interacting with him for 5 minutes. I mean, he seemed like he was, you know, a really cool guy. But I mean, you can kind of tell in some ways from when guys, you know, when some guys talk, you can tell, like, that guy, not saying, you know, you could be like in a 5-minute conversation, that guy's dumb or that guy's smart, but you can kind of tell in that sense that, okay, this dude is, you know, pretty smart when you're talking about the X's and O's behind the scenes. Like he's wise beyond his years when it comes to, you know, or he's going to be wiser beyond his years as it goes on. So I'm really excited to see what Jordan Battle, you know, is able to do potentially if, you know, he has an opportunity in the secondary later this year, if it's, you know, a couple years down the road. So, But that's obviously a main emphasis point that we've been looking at is the secondary.
Right.
I want to look over actually on the offensive line. They had, Jackson Carman and Jonah Williams were splitting reps at right tackle. Orlando Brown's been at left tackle. That dude's an absolute mountain. You got to mention that. But, who do you feel more confident walking out week one at right tackle, Jonah or Jackson?
I'm going to stick with Jonah, and this is because of his starting experience.
Yeah.
I'm not really so sure if Jackson Carman, and again, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I just don't feel like that right tackle would be the spot that he'll rightfully be able to claim as his. But to be perfectly honest, I want LC healthy and back in the fold because that's my right tackle.
Yes.
He just looks like a behemoth of a guy I'm not going to just take away from the fact that he also got better as last season went on too. But if I had to make my pick, it's going to be Jonah. And it's because number one, we're paying him $12 million this year.
Yes,
so you got to play somewhere.
Yes.
you got to play somewhere. If you're not going to be like what Mixon did and take a reworked salary to play for the Bengals, then if we're going to pay you that $12 million because we did pick up your 5th-year option, all right, well, you better work out at right tackle. So that's number one. Mm-hmm. Number two, like I said, he got the starting experience. He wasn't a bad right tackle. I know that most of the fan base, and I'm guilty of it myself at one point too, of just kind of just beating him down about like, oh, you're not playing good football for a left tackle. But at once upon a time ago, he was the best lineman out of the barrage of nonsense that we had on the line, and he was the only one that stood out. Well, the line has gotten better, and we actually got glass eaters. So now he has to become a glass eater. Now, I'm hearing some good things about he's being receptive, he's being coached properly and all that stuff. So I am hearing some good stuff. But at the end of the day, for me, training camp is why I see that I got to see it either in preseason or I got to see it in the regular season where the rubber meets the road before I can make my full determination that, all right, you're just a placeholder, you're moving on, and then we'll just get our new guy in there, whether that be Carman, whether that be LC when he gets back in the fold. But I'll pick Jackson. I'll pick Jonah Williams.
Yeah, like I said, this is actually, this is the most depth that we've had at the offensive line in a couple of years. It's pretty crazy to think about that, though, because, ever since about the 2014-15 mark when, Andy Dalton took maybe 20 sacks in 16 games in 2014, that was the last time he had a line that, had, I was going to say that potential. Obviously, Andrew Whitworth is a Hall of Fame left tackle. Orlando Brown's one of the best in the National Football League. But it's like, we had this amount of depth in the offensive line. That's huge going forward, especially when it comes to, Super Bowl appearance in 21, AFC championship in 2022. So it's like, just keep giving Burrow a little more time and all that. It's, hopefully if those guys stay healthy and they get some continuity and some chemistry, like we saw last year, 15 games through till the, the black plague of injuries happened at the worst time possible. That did suck though, because Lyle Collins, man, he was balling in the second half of the season. It just really sucked to see him get hurt against the Patriots like that.
That one hurt, and I think and that's why I'm still not giving up on Lyle Collins, because man, it was just a year ago. Fans was chasing him at Kenwood Mall parking lots and stuff, taking picture of him just to say like, "Hey, you're signing with the Bengals, right? And you're signing with us, right?" And now to see that people are just out on him after a year, and it's like, yo. Time. His contract explicitly states, I don't want to say because I don't know the contract, but I hear people reiterate it all the time, that his contract is based on how many games he plays.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think it was like a 3-year, $30 million deal or something along those lines, but majority of that guarantee is based on the number of games he plays. If he plays, he gets paid. If he doesn't, he doesn't. Simple as that. So he's going to itch to get out on the field overall. And I'm not giving up. Like I said, I'm just not giving up on Lyle. But I did want to go back real quick to Jordan Battle, because you mentioned about his potential. And I just got to get this on here just because we're on the cut to the chase, and then we're doing the Bengal Blitz. And I do like Jordan Battle. I heard a lot of great things about him. I actually got a chance to watch. Because when you watching the Alabama Crimson Tide, the first person you're not thinking about watching is Jordan Battle. You're not. You only watching them now when you go back and watch that team if you weren't familiar with them before. And that was me. So I got to make this statement. I think, and I can be totally wrong about this, Jordan Battle supplants Nick Scott as the starting safety mid-season at some point. I don't think it's going to be due to injury. I think it might be some sort of injury that they'll make it look like, but it will probably be a situation where Nick Scott, and I like Nick Scott. I got a chance to watch a little bit of his film more, but I'm just confident that Jordan Battle and Dax Hill will be that 1-2 to bring that athleticism and those smarts much more and more versatility than Nick Scott and then versus Jordan Battle. Jordan Battle, he's the teacher. He's the person that he's Von Bell. I would not have said this if Von Bell had re-signed back with the Bengals and it was him and Dax Hill and we drafted Jordan Battle. I would not say it. Then I'll say Jordan Battle, you probably got a year away or something like that, or come in on some 3 safety looks like they did with Ricardo Allen 2 years ago. But I just had to get that out there because I am the reason why I asked the question before about if you had felt that kind of sort of that energy about him, that vibe about him, that hey, he seems to walk with that confidence that he's got it. I felt the same way during Tyler Boyd's rookie year in 2016 when I got a chance to meet him and talk to him. And you know what? He was just a fun guy. He understands. He's a guy from Pittsburgh, but he enjoys playing here. He's excited to play with the Bengals. And that was during the period where the Bengals was coming off one of their best seasons, but didn't have a good season. And even in 2017, he just still knew that I'm going to have that moment. And then the 4th and 12 deep shot to from Dalton to Green, that classic touchdown that Boyd had to send the Ravens out of the playoffs and put the Bills in the playoffs in that final regular season game. That was the moment that Tyler Boyd became Tyler Boyd. Because in 2018, and then in 2018, the Bengals were not great. We started off 4-1, but it just felt unsustainable.
1,000-yard Boyd.
But Boyd was great in 2019. Boyd was that man, and he just continued to be that guy for the team and the heart and soul that we've always needed. And I think Jordan Battle can be that exact same way. I just hope that, and I don't think that's the case. I hope that he don't take longer to get it because this Bengals coaching staff, I couldn't say this about the previous regime. They seem like that it don't matter if you're a young guy or not. If you know how to ball and you know what you're doing, you're playing. Mm-hmm. You're going to go through your growing pains, but you're going to play. And that's what's needed. And I think that's why I'm so high on making that statement with Jordan Battle, because you're not the first person that's told me this. I've heard it throughout most of Bengal media and other fan pages and just fans that I've also interacted with that's told me this, that were Alabama Crimson Tide fans that watched him apparently with the whole team. So I'm excited for him.
Yeah, just like, when Deion Sanders was actually in television and had his primetime show, NFL primetime, whatever the heck it was called, NFL Game Day Final, whatever. If you ball, get the call. That's all it is.
Yeah,
all it is. If you
love it.
You're going to get the call. And Jordan Battle might get that call in the season if he just keeps balling. So,
I didn't definitely mean to distract you and go backwards to the Jordan Battle talk, but I just love that you had that conversation with him. But I know we were talking about the O-line, not to kind of sorry for the fans that's listening in.
Yeah. I mean, shoot, that was great though. I mean, talking about, Battle, man. I mean, he's, we have some high expectations for him, and they might come quicker than than most fans would expect. And I've been saying this a lot recently, whether it comes to, if Jordan Battle supplants somebody in the in the safety room, if our quarterback's not out there during training camp and the receivers still making look like Jake Browning and Trevor Siemian look good, or whether it's the fact that, it's a Monday, the last Monday in July, and training camp is like 5 blocks full before the gates open at 1:30. It's a great problem to have. That's all I got to say.
I got to ask you a question because I'm not really hearing enough from everywhere else. And I don't really have my ears or my close to the vest of everything like that. Yeah. Why aren't we hearing much from about Dax Hill? It feels like that his name just does not get mentioned at all. I'm not going to lie, that is somewhat concerning. But at the same time, it's not to the point where it's just like taking on my mind, like, oh man, are you going to end up being a bust? No, I think that he's going to be fine. I think he's going to be a great safety. But I would have liked to have heard more from him during this round of training camp, being that this is his second season and he's going into his first full season as a starter. Have you been hearing anything or been seeing anything?
Not really a whole lot. I mean, it's, it just doesn't seem like, when it comes to 11 on 11s, like at least when I saw Monday, he wasn't really targeted at in his area a whole lot, other than Jamar Chase catching a deep touchdown in double coverage. I mean, obviously he does that a lot,
Okay.
but like I just hadn't seen a whole lot or anything like that. The ball wasn't really getting thrown his way too much. He was, dropping pretty deep. So, a lot of stuff like that. So, I mean, maybe when it comes, with Dax, maybe it's, we watch the game and he just, unleashes into a different type of beast and balls out. Maybe that's the case in the preseason and we see something like that. But, but you're not crazy. I mean, I haven't heard really much about Dax Hill or even seen a whole lot, when it comes to making any great plays or any lackluster plays. So, it's pretty fast.
Okay. Yeah. Good to know.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And like we mentioned earlier in the show, football is back. It's, obviously training camp is here and, it's hitting full swing. We've been, over a week or two into that. But, tomorrow, the, NFL Hall of Fame game on NBC, 8 o'clock, is the Cleveland Browns and the New York Jets. You're going to see, Kellen Mond have a Kellen Mond moment as the starter for the Browns in that game, and Zach Wilson, the MILF Hunter, is going to get to play some football. So this should be fun. But we are 36 days away from from the opening night when the Lions play the Chiefs. It doesn't have to be Bengals related, Justin, but what are a couple things that you're looking forward to? A couple players that you're looking forward to watch this entire season? A couple matchups? Just throw a couple things out there.
Oh man, you can't really parse too much with the Hall of Fame game because it's literally just going to be a shrew of just second and third stringers, just starting and finishing, and even throwing some fourth stringers in there to finish the game. But I'm just excited that football's back. I'm even going to probably order pizza or something just to watch the game, just because football's back. Even if it might be utterly and purely boring to watch, whatever. But on the Cleveland Browns side, I am actually intrigued because I did not realize Kellen Mond had signed with the Browns as the backup to Dorian Thompson, or maybe he was the rookie that.
Yeah, Dorian Thompson-Robinson came from. Yeah, he got drafted this year and stuff. So I don't know what their situation is going to look like behind Deshaun Watson, but.
But I am intrigued on seeing how Kellen Mond pans out because I don't know if you recall. This was after the 21 draft. This is where Chris Sims gave his quarterback rankings of that draft class with the quarterbacks.
Oh, God.
He was so high on Kellen Mond.
Oh, God.
I was like, what? And I hope it was one of those things I was going to project out moving forward. Like, hey, Chris Sims got laughed at about this before, but man, he ended up turning out to be the right. No, that hasn't been the case. And but at the same token, he hasn't played. I'm hoping to see what he does, and I'm also curious to see how that Dorian Thompson-Robinson, the guy do from the UCLA kid. I'm also real curious because people were speaking highly on him too. As far as the Jets go. Yeah, I know I'm going back to the quarterback battle because, again, it's really not going to be any starters that you can pay attention to. I am curious to see how the maturity level of Zach Wilson is now that he's playing alongside of his idol, or being behind his idol, I should say, in Aaron Rodgers. Is he going to kind of still carry on that boastful brashfulness, or just show that he's learned some stuff from him in this short window of time, having Aaron Rodgers as his teammate? And is he going to make good decisions on the field? But I expect this to be a low-scoring game. I don't expect this to be any highly driven points scored at all. I am going to be more or less happy that I'm watching it, and finally a Bengal is getting inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and that's Ken Riley, because it has been far overdue, as we all know. And also a Brown is getting there too, and Joe Thomas. And it's pretty much going to feel like it will be a Cleveland Browns home game, knowing that Canton is just an hour out down south of Cleveland. So you're probably going to see a lot of Browns fans there too as well. But not too much to take away from it, but it's just a sure fact. I'm just happy that football's back. What about you?
Yeah, I'd say the same thing, man. You look at, you got, Kellen Mond starting and stuff. I mean, like you said, Chris Sims was really high on him. Chris Sims is actually going to be covering the game tomorrow when it comes to, pregame in America. So maybe he's going to, hey, I've had Kellen Mond there in, 2021. He's still.
I can't wait to see that.
Oh, man. But, yeah, I mean, that'll be funny to see and everything. And then, his fellow 2021 quarterback class member, Zach Wilson. He'll be seeing if if he's still if he's going to play more in the pocket and how he's going to if he's revitalized a bit of his game from, like you said, learning from his idol Aaron Rodgers and everything, and just the concept that football is back and that it's back on NBC. Just everything about it's going to be fun. Maybe not the actual play where it might be a 15-13 game, like a high scoring baseball
Right.
game, but just the concept that football's back is the big thing overall in this picture. But before we get on out of here, I do want to ask, obviously week 1 is about 5 weeks away. Other than our Bengals Browns matchup, what game are you looking forward to? I will say that obviously I'll give you a couple. There's obviously Lions Chiefs opening night. There's Eagles Patriots, the big game at 4:25 CBS. Bears Packers. There's Cowboys Giants. Bills Jets. What are you looking forward to in week 1?
So the popular answer everybody's going to probably select is Bills Jets because it's Aaron Rodgers making his regular season debut against the Bills, and I'm intrigued to see that matchup too. But I'm actually going to go with the Eagles Patriots because for some reason, I get it. The Patriots haven't really sort of stocked the roster up like they did in years past with back when they had Brady, and they don't have Brady. They don't have that Patriot way mystique about them anymore. But the Patriots still, I feel like, know how to pull off wins that you think that they have no business winning, but they win. And I will not be surprised to see if they were to pull off an upset against the Eagles in week 1. I don't want to predict that to happen because I'm not betting no money on that. But I will not be surprised. So, and there's too much just people just downplaying Bill Belichick's legacy because Brady's not there. People are all of a sudden out on Mac Jones originally after being in on him in his rookie year. And then everybody's talking about all the Bailey Zappi hype. So that's the one game I am going to be curious to pay in like attention in my peripheral view. It ain't like the main one that I want to watch and see. The Bills and the Jets are the main one that I want to watch and see. But another one is, hey, you know what? I got to pay attention to our division foes. You know what I mean? The Ravens got to play C.J. Stroud in the Houston Texans week 1. Let's see. It just feels to me that the Ravens just get like this hand delivered, this hand delivered, game that is like, all right, this is probably going to be obviously 1-0 because C.J. Stroud's a rookie. Lamar Jackson is fresh off his newly signed contract. It just feels like an obvious Ravens win. So those are my 2 games that I would look primarily, on the side, aside from my big games.
Exactly. I would agree with those as well. And, if I'm looking at a 1:00 game, obviously I'll go with the other divisional foe in the Pittsburgh Steelers. They play the 49ers. The Steelers host one of their first home games one of their first week 1 home games in a few years. So, what quarterback's going to walk out for the Niners? Is Kenny Pickett going to go out there and, be revitalized? What's that defense going to look like in Pittsburgh? What's it going to look like? Is it going to be a slugfest on defense, or is the offenses both just going to be going on fire and stuff like that? Like what's that whole thing look like? It's going to be really interesting to see because you have great pass rushers, Nick Bosa versus TJ Watt, not to mention a lot of other guys like Alex Highsmith in that game. Eric Armstead in the middle, Javon Hargrave, the interior guy from Philadelphia comes over to the Niners, and then Cam Hayward's been really good for years. So I mean, it's just going to be a game of pass rushers, and I think whoever rushed the passer well is going to win the game. But then the other game I was looking forward to, I'm not going to say Cowboys Giants because I mean it's like
I don't look forward to that game because that's everybody. That's always the classic Sunday night game week 1. Always.
Oh it gets old. It really does. I mean, I will say they did flip the venue to being at MetLife Stadium, which is a change for once. But I want to look at the 4:00 game. Bears Packers actually didn't expect that to be 4:00. I expect them to throw it in Sunday Night Football early in the season because they always do that as well. But Jordan Love, first time being the full-time starter. Justin Fields gets a chance to have some competency with people on his roster. The Chicago Bears roster looks a little more competent now. So just seeing those 2 guys go at it, in the national spotlight on Fox. I mean that's going to be pretty big stuff, and it might have the Bears have a chance to potentially own Jordan Love, unlike Aaron Rodgers when he owned the Bears. So maybe they get a
I
chance to
can
flip
see
the script. I don't
I
know.
can see that happening. I can absolutely see that happening. People are much higher on Justin Fields, and honestly, I feel like I should be too in that camp. I just need. I'm like kind of a more of a wait and see it first kind of guy. Just
Yep.
to be all fairness to people that actually proved it and done it. But I
Yep.
see the potential. I see the talent, and that team, that roster, that offense is just
Yeah.
buttered up so perfectly. And if they mess this up, then look, man, I don't think it's
Uh,
going to ever really happen for the Bears. But the
no.
49ers still is one that you picked the first one. I'm intrigued because here's a little fun nugget here that about Pittsburgh that I just kind of just thought off the dome.
It's here.
The previous two seasons they had always played either the runner up to the runner up AFC champion runner up I believe. In 2021 they played the Buffalo Bills week 1 in Orchard Park and
Yeah.
beat them. 2022, we already know what happened week 1. They beat us, even though that should have been a win for the Bengals for
Yeah.
not going to block extra point, whatever.
Yeah.
The 49ers are the runner-up NFC champ to the NFC champ this past year. They got some questions at quarterback they got to figure out. Could that be an appetizing teaser that maybe you can pick Pittsburgh in a sneaky upset or at least to cover the spread when you're thinking of a betting standpoint? I don't know, man, because Pittsburgh have a way about them that they can pull out those games. And
Yeah.
even if the opponent seems very, very monumental for them, they just have this energy about them where they can just play up to anybody at any given moment, and they can just win these weird games. Like I did not expect them to 2 years ago to go in the Park against the Bills, against
Oh.
Josh Allen, and everybody was so high on obviously going into that season, and they just went up there and beat them. Now they didn't play good; they played ugly. That was Roethlisberger's last year,
Yeah.
but the blast from the past and the old and Roethlisberger outplayed him in week 1. And I didn't expect the Steelers. The Steelers were a 6.5 point underdog coming in Cincinnati week 1. And
Yeah.
then their defense turned up with 5 turnovers on us. Again, we still should have won the game if it wasn't for no blocked extra point,
Yeah.
but we still lost in the story. So that's the one I should be watching too. You know what I mean? So I got to keep my eye on that. But otherwise, man, I still think the Bengals are still the class of the division, and that's a great way to kind of sum that part up. The Bengals are still the class of the AFC North until otherwise. Even though there is a chance that, let's say, worst case scenario, we go 0-1, both Baltimore and Pittsburgh go 1-0, and then we're down staring at the barrel of 0-1. Everybody else is 1-0. I still think the Bengals will be the class of the division, no matter what. They're going to find a way to rebound. So I'm just happy though for football to be here, football to be back, and I can't wait to the first game, even if it is preseason, to start.
Yes, sir. Yep, I'm really excited to see that, and it's been great talking, start of football and Bengals stuff tonight, and I appreciate you coming on the show, Justin. This was